Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Patch Notes, the show where we cover the biggest gaming news from the week in a nice bit-sized package. My name is Drew and as always it's great to see you guys. This episode we are covering the news from the week of November 10th, 2017. We only have a few stories to cover this week, but for the first time ever on the show I'm actually joined by my friend Connor. Say hi, Connor.
Ah! Hey, hey, how's it going? How's that?
That works. Connor has a little bit of experience in the gaming industry, so he'll be able to give a little bit of insight into some of the things going on this week. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it.
You're really cool. I wanted you to know that.
So earlier this week, Telltale Games announced they were going to be letting go of 90 employees, which is almost 25% of their staff in order to reorganize the company towards a new direction. Telltale Games CEO Pete Hawley stated that this won't affect their already announced projects and will just promote more innovation, better games, and smaller teams within the company. It was reported that Telltale had almost 400 employees at one point, which makes sense considering they were slated to release 4 games within just this year alone. But a lot of people started wondering whether the company has grown too big for its own good. The quality of their games is also coming into question considering they've been using the same engine for all their games for the past 5 or 6 years.
That is true, Drew. Telltale has been using their own proprietary game engine since the launch of their first title in 2005. And in 2011, when they started doing TV and movie licensed games like Jurassic Park and Walking Dead, their popularity skyrocketed.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot in a lot of their games. I noticed that they all kind of started to look the same, especially once they started doing comic book stuff. Everything had that kind of cel-shaded look to it. Everything looks the same. It looks like they just took all the same assets and just copy and pasted it over and over and over again.
Yeah, they definitely have landed on their specific artistic style for the games, but the engine itself has been updated, frequently year by year and adding new features and new graphical improvements. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the gameplay or the basic flow of each of those games has changed at all. So I feel like it's getting a little stale for players. It seems like it's the classic gravy train problem that we see in like every major video game series or, like the Call of Duty games or Guitar Hero games. Your gravy train can only go on so long until that gravy starts getting stale. And then the only thing you can do, pull over that train, dump that old gravy, fill it up with some new gravy. So hopefully that's what Telltale is doing right now. They're pulling the gravy train off the tracks. They're getting rid of that stale gravy. It's time for some new brew, as they say in the games industry. Yeah.
Thanksgiving's coming up. It's time for some new gravy.
Get rid of that stale gravy. Maybe get some cranberry sauce. These job cuts at Telltale could probably mean one of two things. Either that they've found their way to make money, they have the engine and they have the game, and now they just need artists and storytellers to plug assets in, so they cut jobs for programmers and game developers. Or they're cutting out artists and the story arc creators because they know they need more developers to innovate and keep this gravy train flowing. So we'll see. I hope it's the latter. And we can see some improvements to this game engine that's kind of been in the studio that's been making the same content for about 5 years now.
Yeah, I honestly, I feel like they've got the story stuff in the bag. Like, none of their games have been terrible story-wise, as far as what I've seen. They've all been pretty good. It's just the same gameplay that people are getting tired of. So if they can make, like, a legit game, like an actual game, with a great story with it, that would be great. I think that would be, like, the next step for them. So hopefully that's what they're doing. Hopefully they're actually going to try to innovate on what they've been doing. And to continue on with the microtransaction news from last week, it's kind of a theme that we've been doing on this show for a while now, but Take-Two Interactive revealed that they earned almost half of their revenue from this fiscal quarter from just microtransactions alone. Take-Two Interactive is a huge publisher who publishes some of the biggest franchises like GTA, the 2K Sports Series, BioShock, and Borderlands. So along with revealing this information about their microtransactions, they announced that they're going to be including recurring spending opportunities in all of their games going forward. So essentially, all of their games are going to have some form of microtransactions from this point on. Whether it's a virtual currency, a tacked-on multiplayer mode, or something else, there will be microtransactions in all of their games. A lot of gamers are blaming the massive success of GTA Online's shark cards for this decision. The game has continually raked in cash since the shark cards first launched, and it's easy to see why when you consider the grindy nature of the game and how it's nearly impossible to get any money unless you do heists, which take a lot of time and a lot of planning and coordination, which most gamers don't have. They just want to jump on and play the game with their friends. I mean, every time Connor and I play together with our friends, one of them inevitably says, oh, I'll just drop $10 on a shark card real quick so I can buy that brand new car and spruce it up a little bit, and so I can catch up with everybody and drive a nice fast car. It'll be fun.
Sounds like Matt.
Yeah, it does sound like Matt. Only for us to play for maybe like one night or two at most, and then we drop the game for another few months or something like that.
I do appreciate that Rockstar sometimes gives free vehicles and stuff like that you can just buy and get delivered to your garage for no cost at all.
Yeah, and they do give free money every now and then. Like, as long as you just log in, you get like $400,000 to $500,000 for your character, which, if you've saved up all of that over, you know, the time since the game's launched, it's actually a good amount of money. But it doesn't go very far, unfortunately. The one thing that has me most worried is what the future of Take-Two's games are going to look like. The Borderlands and BioShock franchises are some of my favorites of all time, and it would suck to see both of those tarnished by ridiculous microtransactions. But the sad truth is that if new games are made by Take-Two, they will have microtransactions. We just have to hope they are of the cosmetic, purely optional variety instead of the pay now or spend hours upon hours grinding variety.
Play on PS4 Pro.
And for our final story today, Ubisoft revealed in an earnings call that they predict the next Xbox and PlayStation consoles are a minimum of 2 years away. I've seen this all over the place. A lot of outlets have taken it and just kind of run with it, and I won't lie, it's pretty good clickbait. But in all honesty, there's not a whole lot of news here. First off, Yves Guillemot, who we've talked about on the show before, doesn't really know what he's talking about. Don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, but even he admitted in the exact same earnings call that this is just speculation on their part, and they have no confidential information from either of the companies. So basically, they're just talking out of their asses. Secondly, and this is the most important thing, both companies just released updated versions of their consoles, so I'd really doubt that they're going to be coming up with new versions of those consoles in just a couple years. For Xbox, releasing a new console in 2 years doesn't really make sense with their new direction of backwards and forwards compatibility. They wouldn't release a console that couldn't play all the other stuff that they already have on their Xbox One library. Unless in 2 years they decide to release another upgraded Xbox One, which isn't totally out of the question considering Phil Spencer has recently said that he thinks that the console market should emulate the phone market a little bit more closely, you know, where they release upgrades every couple years. So maybe we'll see another upgrade from them, but I doubt we'll see a brand new Xbox anytime soon. For PlayStation, however, they've been dethroned as the most powerful console ever, so it wouldn't actually surprise me if they decided to come out with a new console in the next couple of years. However, if they do decide to go that route, I hope they take a page from Microsoft's book and make their next console backwards compatible, at least as much as possible. This is because a lot of people just spent about $400 on a brand new PS4 Pro, so asking them to spend another $400 or even $500 on a PlayStation 5 that can't even play their old PS4 games, well, that would piss a lot of people off.
Personally, I'd like a console made with fruit by the foot, and you know, it could play all your favorite fruit snacks. No, that's not it. Or you could just get a PC and forget about this whole console game. PCs can play Microsoft Paint. They can play all the good games, and you can do your homework on it. Sounds like a pretty good console to me.
Kids?
I think it'd be cool if Microsoft or Sony tried to trick customers into building a PC by offering some kind of customizable, upgradable chassis console that could slowly be changed and modified over the years with new graphics cards licensed by Sony or Microsoft that, you know, maybe you just plug and go.
Yeah, I could seriously see that being the future where it's like a modular console. I mean, Sony kind of does it where in the PlayStation you can unscrew a latch and pull out the hard drive and just switch it out with another one. So that's kind of modular. It'd be nice if you could do that with like the graphics card and just slot it out and slot a new one in, you know?
Yeah, and even Microsoft selling their own licensed graphics cards that aren't usable with a normal PC, only with Xboxes. That'd be something cool, and even at a higher price, I'm sure people would buy it for the upgraded performance. But then you get into the whole question of, is your Xbox better than my Xbox? And console gaming has always kind of existed on an equal playing field as far as performance, so
Yeah.
who knows what that'll cause when it comes to competitive gaming.
See, yeah, like what's going to happen with like Call of Duty when you're running your game at 120 frames per second, I'm running it at like 24. That's something that's going to happen with these upgraded consoles anyway, at some point, you know, like, you know, 5 years down the line, if they keep doing these, we're just going to upgrade our consoles. If you have an original Xbox One, you're not going to be able to play the games that are like modern and current at any sort of fidelity. But yeah, even with Sony in the position they are now, I feel like we'll finally see the console market start to slow down, and we'll see them try to refocus on making software for their consoles instead of just making new hardware. Sony already has a head start on this over Microsoft, but the head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, said that they are refocusing on making more software and more first-party exclusive titles for the Xbox, so hopefully they can catch up sometime soon. And honestly, I'd be happy if things slowed down for a little while, at least for my wallet.
No! Hilarious.
Okay. And that's going to do it for us this week. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I want to thank Connor for joining me with this episode.
I want to thank Drew for joining me with this episode, and I had a real great time. Thanks for helping me out with my show that I do every week, Drew. Thanks for coming on, and try to get you back next week.
Oh, okay, it was great being here.
All right, guys, and the show's canceled. Drew is gone, and I'm also liquidating the company.
Oh, no, I can still hear clicks.
Wait, you can hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
What the fuck? My mic? Okay, so maybe whenever I'm muting myself, and I think people hear me and I talk shit about them, they can actually hear me.
Oh, no.
That would be terrible. There's a mute button on my mic. And okay, so can you hear me now?
Yeah.
You can hear me right now.
Yeah.
That's not fucking good.